Hello everybody, it's Tepid with Team Legion, and today I'm going to be talking about Wargreymon X, the deck I believe you should be playing for this upcoming BT9 format. So this is a list that is fairly straightforward, mostly because the deck is fairly straightforward. It is an OTK deck, and is a deck that is designed to promote your tower, swing, and hopefully close out game right after you promote. So looking at that, we have our eggs, and we're going to start with the generic BT9 Coromon that's just going to give us a 1000 buff to all our Agumon and Greymon. Now, very importantly, this is not buffing our Omnimons we're going to get to. So the rest of the list does sort of account for that. We do have a single flexible Bt5 Coromon. This is something with potential to cut because you're really not cycling through all of your eggs to where you do need the 5th egg. But I do like having it there. Potentially one of the things you can do is if you're not looking at a good stack early on and you flip that, you can throw your Greymons on top, get an extra draw. But once you start seeing your pieces, the deck's really going to turbo through. So this is a potential cut. Next we have the Bt5 Agamon. This card is just generically good. Looking for 3 cards, grabbing you a Greymon and an Omnimon can be very valuable, as Omnimon is sort of your game finisher. And in conjunction with that, we have Agumon X. Now, Agumon X is obviously good due to the fact that it has both an on-play and Digivolve, which works very well in conjunction with this Agumon. If you're burning 3 memory, you can get 2 searches in a turn and potentially grab 4 cards, which is going to be the majority of your gameplay pieces. Now, Agumon X is obviously going to also be valuable with his way that he's going to work with Alteros mode and Greymon X, allowing us to pitch our rookies. But while this Agumon is good, we have him at a lower number solely because he's not offering a buff, he's not doing anything for the stack, so we don't always want to see him. So talking about buff, we have Agumon, the promo that's going to buff our Greymon names by 2000. This was a back and forth between this and the starter deck 7 Agumon because this only buffs Greymons. And I've had more than a few cases where hitting an Alphamon or Yukon or a Dexmon security on my Omnimon Blitz has been crippling to my ability to win the game or close it out. So we've reduced him down 2 copies because I still believe you should have 6 2000 buffers. He can be good because he allows you to actually hit Digimon while retaining your buff, but you're swinging for the face so much anyway that I believe we need to play 4 of the Agumon from ST7. Now this is a 2000 buff only when swinging for the face, but with this deck you're going for face regardless. Just having a generic 2000 buff for your Omnimon is extremely valuable. You can rotate these 2 as desired. I think they're effectively fulfilling the same purpose, just this one is going to go to our level 7s. Now, continuing buffs, we have our Greymons. Now, you may be wondering, why am I playing the one of BT1? Well, his play cost being 4 is useful to have, not because you're always expecting a brick, but because there are situations where you want to hard play, but 5 can just give over a little bit too much memory. Because we're playing red, we don't have memory blockers, so we want to avoid giving over too much memory where at all possible. Having him allows you in situations where you only have 1 memory and they have a memory retainer to play another body on board, potentially to swing or to draw out removal, while not passing them over that 1 extra memory, because against some of these matchups with all the memory gain, 1 extra memory can be all the difference. Then we go over the Bt5 Greymon, which does have that super cool Digivolving for 1 memory, which can be relevant if you're playing the Agumon as previously talked about. However, a lot of times you're just dropping them and raising. They're both fulfilling the same purpose of a 2k buff, so just having a singleton copy of this Greymon can give us a little bit of flexibility in certain weird situations. Fairly self-explanatory, we have the Greymon from the starter deck, Sec +1. You're playing 4 because he's very critical to your ability to OTK. He is super valuable for multiple reasons. Obviously, he's not giving a buff, so we're compensating with the Coromon up here and the Agumon right here. But this is your gas. This is a card where if you see this and your Metal Greymon, you are likely to win the game. Greymon X, your protection clause. However, Greymon X is only protecting against deletion or bounce. So, part of the issue that's going to come with this deck and why I'm not running a full suite of Alteros modes is, at least in my local meta, the majority of the removal is going to be de-digivolution from the new Alphamon, or reduction, or chaos degradation. The issue with that being, he does not stop that. He is going to stop a random Cocytus Breath, if that's something, or if you're playing against the mirror and there's a deletion effect. But the problem is, not stopping reduction, not stopping chaos deg, not stopping the digivolve. This has not been as valuable of a tower effect as I would have hoped. Moving down a bit, we have our level 5s. We have one Metal Greymon with piercing, more relevant than I would have thought at the beginning of the format. Granted, it's not a lot of blockers, but you are going to have Metal Garurumon X, which is playing a blocker at the top end. Sometimes playing against X-Ante, they may just end their turn with Wargreymon. So having the ability to pierce, having the ability to maybe even swing with this and pop something, and just if they leave a suspended Digimon, still being able to get your checks while taking body up board can be super good. Now, a little bit further down, we have Alteros. The reason I put Alteros at the bottom is because I understand this card may be difficult for you to get. Because it is locked to the tournament pack, this can be a flex, because this is offering a protection clause and a Digivolve pop. Now, there are two issues. One, as we talked about with Greymon X, the protection clause is not necessarily the most relevant. In the proper matchup, it's going to be great. But against security control, any sort of a yellow deck, X-Ante, it's not doing as much as you would have wanted. And that pop, while 5k or less, is a pretty decent threshold. You're running into an issue where you're maybe popping memory blockers. If there's a hybrid deck that's still running around, you might be popping a Pokemon, you might be getting rid of some sort of a searcher. So it's also not as relevant. That's kind of part of the issue. Now, it does have a Digivolve 0 from Metal Greymon, which is fun. It allows you to tower up a little bit more, but I don't believe this is necessarily the best card. I'm playing it just to have an extra redundancy of protection, and because I don't necessarily need extra instances of piercing. But if for whatever reason you cannot get this card, another valuable substitution is the Metal Greymon that allows you to play a Tamer and gains you back in memory when something's deleted. That has some synergy, or just more copies of the Piercer. So if you're only cracking BT9 boxes, if you can't get singles for whatever reason, and you're looking at this deck because you already have the cards and this is kind of a budget deck, you can trade him out without too much of a loss to your efficiency. Then we go to Metal Greymon X Antibody, which is probably the most valuable card in the deck for making plays. When you see this card, it enables you to promote and potentially just win the game on the spot, because he grants an additional security attack. Now, if for whatever reason you aren't seeing part of your top end of megas, this card can be how you can win. With proper buffs, he can go up pretty high as 13,000 potentially, which makes him fairly safe on the swing. And then in addition, he's digivolving for 0. So if you're in a choke situation, that's pretty good. Now, the other utility of him is how he works with the X-Ante option. So you're going to be in a situation where you're going to promote your X-Ante stack. You're going to maybe digivolve into Metal Greymon because perhaps you have a Cool Boy on board and you want to take advantage of that. You're going to gain a floating security attack. You're going to have the X-Ante there. And then you're going to swing with him, and you can go into Wargreymon X. In addition to this, we have the Wargreymon from BT1, which can grant another floating security attack +1. He also has Delicate Plan built in, so you don't need to play Delicate Plan. You can play this guy, and just, if you're going against security control, swing with him instead of swinging with your X. But in a situation where you have your tie, you have your 3 memory, and if you have your Cool Boy, what you can do is you can promote your Metal Greymon, digivolve into X. You're in a situation there where you have a security check from the Greymon, a security check from the tie, a floating from the X-Ante Metal Greymon, a floating from the Wargreymon, and the X-Ante underneath, and this is your OTK. Because then you're going into Wargreymon X, you are swinging, you are checking 5 times, potentially as high as if you have the Koromon, if you have the Agamon, you're going up to 15,000. You're going in for the swing, and then you're gaining back a memory for each security you check. And if you get through all 5 security, if you're not playing against something where you have to worry about Death Exmon or you can just go into Blitz Omni for a game. It is extremely powerful, and even if you lose the stack somehow, you're still gaining back an absurd amount of memory. You're still at end of attack popping something. You also have a one of blitzing EX Wargreymon. This is just here in case you're going against Melga specifically, or maybe X Antibody. Having that utility to blitz, to pop a tamer, or to pop a blocker with a tamer is good. He has a 12k stat line, which is nice. Just a good card, not to be ignored. I could easily see what I've seen some other lists doing, where you're having a third Delicate Plan, or you're just cutting him and you're using that extra spot for something else. Blitz Omni goes without saying. This used to be a one of X Antibody Omni. I took him out because the issue is, as a tower card, he did not have a lot of function, because the decks I want to tower against had responses to him. Security Control, Mastemon, X Anti. He can be more of a win more card in the matches where I already think I can do fine. If I'm bringing him against Melga, he was pretty good, but I'd rather just have a Blitz Omni to try to win. 2 Gaia Force 0, and the reason this is here, and I've been a big proponent of playing some form of removal, is because it enables you to have a valuable security. Now that can seem like a detrimental thought process. You don't want to build your deck on the luck sackiness of security, but I believe you should have some sort of removal option. And Gaia Force 0 gets away from some of the issues that other removal, especially in red, we've had before. So Megalo Atomic Blaster, Regular Atomic Blaster, Crimson Blaze are not super relevant right now, due to the fact that not everybody is going super wide. Regular Gaia Force, while good, is always 8 memory from the hardcast, and we're obviously not making the facilitations to play Dark Gaia Force. The benefit of this card, however, is that he's going to reduce cost if you have an X Ante, which you will. So he goes down to 6. But there's a second line of text that allows you to attack with a Greymon following that. If you're swinging with your Wargreymon X after the Gaia Force 0, you are gaining back the memory that you're going to connect with. Also, if you have the X Antibody option and you're attacking with your Greymon, you can do the Evo. So if you're in a situation where you have the tie, you've promoted the Metal Gray, you've tucked the X Ante, they have a target, drop the Gaia Force 0, swing Evo, and then potentially recoup the cost. Because while you are paying for the 0 and you are paying for the Digivolution, you're getting some of that back. And then in security, it is just an unconditional delete. I think you should have this card. I think you should be playing at least 1. But if you are going to make a cut, this would be one of the cuts. If you were to cut this, I think this is a situation where you're going to want to put in your hybrid for game, potentially more red memory boosts, or if you just want to strengthen up your rookie count because this is a little bit low. This is one of the tighter lists of the format where there's only about 4-ish flex spots. You could even buff up your amount of X Antibody options, but I believe Gaia Force 0 is the play. 3 tie. Now, you want to see tie. Tie is so critical for what you need to do to win. You want to see him at least once. Also, Lucemon is still around, and more importantly, Black Wargreymon is still around. A Black Wargreymon player killing your Cool Boy and your tie can be devastating to your strategy. Tie is what enables you to OTK. Tie enables your retention in the face of blockers because Chumon and Madoki Beta are still cards. But you can also get him in multiples. Now, there have been lists with Hero. I believe Tie is the better one. You do not need the extra DP. You already have that going on with your stack. And if you're going up against security control, stacking ties can be super valuable in securing a win. Cool Boy goes without saying. I could see you plussing this card up. The issue is that short of the Bt5 Agamon into Agu X, or the promotion into the Metal Greymon X Antibody, you're not really getting his effect off. The extra draw can be good, and then as discussed previously, this is a flex spot if you can't get these. I also do not believe it to be the most valuable. I think there's arguments that could be made even for cards like the Virus Metal Greymon to get extra DP, the Metal Greymon that's going to be the Tamer as previously mentioned, or just more piercing Metal Greymons. But with that, that's the list. And as discussed, a lot of the utility is in Wargreymon X and then Blitz Omni for game. With the way the meta is going, it is currently OTK. If you're playing against Alphamon, the moment they get the Oryukin, they're going to start shredding through your security. You cannot tower, you cannot really play defensively against them. Same with Metal Greymon, or not Metal Greymon, Metal Garurumon, and same with Grandis. You want to have the ability to promote, punch out, and by turn 4, be able to secure a win, at least right now. I think this deck can do that, and as mentioned previously, it's pretty budget. The most expensive cards are the Ties and the Wargreymons. If you already have those, then it's easy. The Wargreymon X aren't too bad. The Alteros is flexible as discussed. And the rest of the deck is rares and uncommons and commons. You can put this together out of chaff from your buddy's box if they're not playing the deck. If you have any experience with this list, if you're considering playing it, if you're seeing any text that maybe I didn't mention, drop them in the video below. I'm going to be reporting on the success of this deck for a regional I have coming up mid this month. Otherwise, thank you for watching as always. Put any criticisms below. And that's Tepid from Team Legion, signing off.